Good afternoon, welcome to Elections Debrief. Today on the program we have stakeholders who have experience from the just concluded elections. Today they will be sharing with us some of the things they found out, their experience, their lessons from the just concluded 2019 general elections. I'm your host, Habib Oladapo, and to my right today I have Mr. Olayiwola Abisoye. He was the ADC candidate for Kosofe Federal Constituency, and to my left is Chief Sulaiman Adedimeji. He is the political leader of the African Democratic Congress ADC. You're welcome, sir.
It's a pleasure.
Right, I'll start with you, Mr. Abisoye. Could you share with us some of your experiences and from the last election? Just share with us some of the things you observed.
Thank you very much. Basically, what I learned by way of the election was that I think Nigerians are not ready for democracy yet. Just like I will say a couple of years back, he said we're heading towards a backward slide because the people are not ready for democracy. On the campaign trail, I started noticing different kinds of things, from the party level to the people, to the electorates. The party people had different ideas. The electorates wanted different things. They didn't want the change we were looking for. You know, Obasanjo started a third force. We came in as the third force. So we felt, okay, let's do away with the normal thing, the two major parties, the way things are. Let's change the system. We don't want to buy votes. We want to sell our agendas to you, and if you like it, you vote for us. But when we got on the campaign trail, they wanted us to give them money, wanted us to give them food stuff, and we said, no, we're not coming with that kind of thing. And the party people too expected us to start spending money for them. You know, the idea we had was that, okay, party people will pay dues, they will help us, the candidates, though at the long run, they're going to benefit because it's our party.
Yes.
It's not for us to be taking care of them, to carrying them, taking care of their bills and everything, and the electorates to want to start funding them, start giving them money to cash, food stock and all that. So I was surprised because I felt people were tired. The economy was not doing well. The leadership we had presently, they were not doing well. I thought they wanted a change.
Okay. So
Actually, as a politician, what I could see from the whole thing for now, from the way he has said, though electorate, not Nigerian, I would put that way, the electorate, especially at the grassroots, has not really know what it means to practice democracy. Because of and that has been because of their experiences, they felt whatever they have from candidates or politicians during election is not the only dividend of democracy they have. That once they've come, you don't see them again until another 4 years.
when you saw the result, did you feel you could have done more? With the necessary support from the people, do you feel you could have done more? What were the challenges for you, and what were the things you saw?
I actually ran for House of Representatives, Kosofe Federal Constituency. Like I said earlier on, I had this initial shock of, party people were not supportive as they should be, and the electorates were not as I thought they would be. But I overcame that shock, and I did what you could call house-to-house campaign. Okay. I tried as much as possible to knock on so many doors. In the electoral, the political balance, when it's house-to-house, you see people carrying big vehicles with DJs and going around the street and shouting. But I decided not to do my own like that. I decided to do house-to-house. To actually go to, if you go on a particular street, you go and knock on the doors, talk to them, meet them, try to introduce myself and sell my programs, my agenda to them. And it was surprising that some of them bought into what we were saying. So eventually I was able to sway a lot of people, as many people as I could. I was able to speak with. I was able to sway them. So the result was good. But in Nigeria, there are a lot of barriers that you have to overcome as a politician. It's not enough for you to campaign well, for you to meet with the people, for people to like you or like what you message. It is enough for you to guide your vote. So the result I got was not a true reflection of the vote. The result I got was not a true reflection of how people viewed me. Because people were calling, because as a party we did one mistake. We didn't take care of the aspect of protecting our votes. That was no event. We couldn't afford it. So our polling need to actually left with them. So there were a lot of manipulation that was done.
Joining us now in the studio is Mr. Olanrewaju Suraj. He's the Executive Director of Human and Environmental Development Agenda, HEDA Resource. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
Guys, I'll start with you now. What do you make out of the just completed elections? What are the lessons from it for you?
I think what is very crucial for us with the election is to clearly note the fact that we're still dealing with the same set of people and characters. So it's a complete different ball game if they transform themselves into different political parties. You understand the fact that we don't really have ideologically oriented political parties. Borrowing from that last experience, we need, and this is also an opportunity for us to review our involvement in the political space. The election is already, with some of the new laws in the electoral reform, has made it clear that it is possible to actually demystify the stranglehold of certain political elite and ruling elite, on the political landscape and the electoral history of Nigeria, if we're really serious. It is also very possible to build new narratives. The social media actually provided an ample opportunity to conscientize the people. Unfortunately, quite a number of the new entrants into the political landscape didn't translate what was happening on the social media to the real electoral process. And you can see where quite a number of people were talking about, having about 30 million votes. Which obviously you could say they're right, because they could get 30 million votes on the social media voting. But that is not the same thing in terms of the election. And seriously, quite a number of the young people, because there's a need to have this political orientation that would really give you what is understood by the electoral democracy. You need to understand how people that you want to lead are also thinking and how they want to relate with the elections. It is not sufficient for you to speak quite a huge grammar and then assume that people will overnight change the orientation, and that doesn't happen anywhere. It doesn't happen anywhere in the world. It's just going to be an illusion to assume that, Nigerians should be tired of PDP or APC. Where does PDP and APC come from? They're coming from Nigerians. They are not aliens and they are not foreigners. So for us to have a new paradigm in terms of our electoral process, and that is why you see the new evolution of vote trading. 2003, 2007, 2011, what you had was a massive turnout of votes without voters. So you would see 100% return of results. You would see 99, you would see 98, because there was no card reader. There was no due process of both voting and counting. And with the little change that you can see, and that is why you can see 20% of voter turnout. You can see 30%, even in Lagos. Lagos, as conscious as Lagos is, even in GRA here, if you really go down to the vote here in GRA, it is less than 20%. You'll be talking about 15%. I monitored the election. I saw the turnout around here. It is clearly showing that people Either they don't trust the electoral process again, they're not certain that their vote will count. They've not really heard what they want to hear from new people that are there. They're tired of the old guards, and they just don't bother to come out and say they want to vote. So there's a need for us. And like I said, the 2019 election clearly showed that, it is possible for new things to emerge in the process. And it has given us an opportunity to sufficiently challenge the outcome of that election. Not just so, the unfortunate thing is people are so fixated about results. So the only thing they want to challenge is the result. But there's always a lot of other issues that are involved with the processes that you can challenge. And challenging those processes would guarantee a better election in 2023.
Thank you, sir. Do you have any reaction to what you are saying?
I will just add that we can't continue to do the same thing and expect different results. We need a new social order where the electorate will seize on the power. I mean, on the past they were able to amass, they were able to determine the outcome to a larger extent of 2015 election. Because we saw an opposition party unseat the party in power. And it was likely due to the fact that people came out to ensure that that change took place. In my estate then, I saw what happened. I witnessed some things happen. People came and stood after the weekend after the election. And they said, you must count this thing before you leave here. Even though it was dark, it was late, and the INEC official wanted to use an excuse to leave, he said, no. He said, didn't have light. He said, okay, what will we do for you? Everybody just went back to their cars, put on the envelope of their cars, okay, start counting. They made sure he counted the election. And they made sure to a large extent that the election counted. Even though the election was not perfect, but people came out and marched to ensure that there was a change in government. But in 2019, they went back. I don't know what happened. I don't know where the disconnect came in.
So I was going to ask, what do you think actually happened?
I think they lost faith in the government. It is bad enough that you stake your all to make sure that somebody comes in. I mean, the government comes in. And there was this high expectations of that government. They sold us high on returning dollar to $1 to the naira. They sold us high on removing subsidy. They made a lot of promises. And the man came with a change mantra. The man came selling the man as a man of integrity. So we all bought into his vision. We bought into the party. We bought into Buhariism, if you allow me to say that, the man Buhari. But he has been a bundle of disappointment. I think that really impacted on the way people reacted in this time.
But actually, people are supposed to also come out to change him if they were not pleased with his performance.
The economy was in free fall at the time he took over. When you decapacitate the people, you make the people poorer, there is stagnation and hunger in the land. How do you two people can come out to fight? I don't know whether it's a systemic arrangement by the government of the day or whether they did it on purpose, but they made sure that the people were alienated, they started starving. If you notice in the early days of the government, people were just jumping off the bridge. They were committing suicide. The rate of suicide in this government has gone. It's more than any government. So the people, you can't blame them. You can't blame them much. It's not as if you can't blame them much. Let me just put it that way.
Okay, but I'll stay with you, sir.
Yeah.
You, as a candidate, going through the election, I'm sure you understood all of these things that you just described. Yeah. So what mechanisms did you put in place going towards the election? You were sharing your strategy of house-to-house campaign earlier, but what other mechanisms did you put in place to ensure that these votes actually, people come out to vote, and when they do, the votes count?
We organized a lot of small group meetings. We did a lot of enlightenment campaign. We did a lot of voters education. We taught how to work. And we did a lot of encouragement. We try to motivate people. Okay, things are very bad. Yes, the economy is in shambles. But if we can use that same power that we used to change the government and change this government and put in place a new government, I think the economy will become better. So we spoke a lot of people. That's why I said my own campaign strategy was not going around the newspapers or the TV station shouting. I was doing, a door-to-door campaign. I was meeting small group. I was knocking on doors, talking to them personally, and I was giving them hope. I was encouraging them. But let me say something. they believed what I was saying, but they were looking at the larger picture. Okay, you are just a House of Rep, a candidate for House of Representatives. If we vote you in Kosofe, will you be able to turn the country around? They didn't have comfort in the other people running for the larger race.
Okay.
But it was because of him they were going through what they were going through. Atiku Abubakar had a lot of mess to clean up. The Showores and the rest of them were seen as, pardon me, Showores is a serious contender, but they were seen as not too serious people because they didn't have enough structure. They didn't build it. They didn't have a structure, and there was no way Showore, Kingsley Moghalu, Fela Durotoye would have won the election. If they had won it, they would have been given a Nobel Peace Prize because they would have done something impossible. So the people were looking at the bigger picture. Okay, we vote for you, what of the national level? So there was no comfort in that.
Okay. All right. Mr. Suraj, I'll come to you before Chief Adedimeji. So we talked about general perception to the election. We talked about the electorates now. But let's talk about the organization of the elections itself. Let's talk about INEC. What were your, you were on the field, you monitored the elections. So what did you see regarding INEC preparation, coordination and organization of the elections?
I would say that it is, in some aspects, an improvement of the past, and in some aspects, it is a complete reversal of some of the assumed gains that we were thinking of, in the election. Okay, so unfortunately, if we want to talk about the last-minute postponement of the election, it's not a new thing. It happened in 2015, and it also happened in 2011. So we would understand and agree that this is not, but the fact that this happened like 24 hours to the election.
Yes, that's like 6 hours.
And I mean, yeah, and the fact that even there was the speculation that the election was going to be postponed, and there was that outright denial on the part of INEC that there wouldn't be any postponement. It was insufficient for us to just go into the election and we continue as if nothing happened. People will have to take responsibilities for what they do, because it is not just that election is postponed. So international observers were here and they have incurred a huge cost to bring people from all across the world to come and observe that election. So they had the challenges of either withdrawing those observers and Nigeria losing the opportunity of having, credible, monitoring of the electoral process by unbiased arbiters, from outside, or they had to incur additional costs to retain them in country for that period. Some of them got visa that were not sufficient to even keep them for that period, so they had no option than to withdraw the people. The period leading to the election and even during the election itself, and that we can see, unfortunately, the sad aspect for me is the fact that quite a number of observers who are obsessed with just about opposition would not credit INEC, where it stands up in support of the rule of law and either deny the ruling party an undue advantage or refuse to recognize them when the court of law refuses their participation. But when the same thing happens to opposition, INEC becomes criticized and condemned. And for me, that is not so. We've seen where the executive had used unbridled manipulation of the electoral process, using the power of incumbency to manipulate that in favor of their political party. And in fairness to this INEC, it actually prevented to a very large extent that from happening. And you've seen even with reruns where they were conducted and the opposition party still won the election, even in places where you thought that it would have been an easy sale for even the ruling party. And so at that point, you also want to recognize that things are moving. But by and large, for me, I really want to see a situation where Nigerians, analysts and politicians we'll be looking at, more importantly, the fundamentals of our electoral process than just the symptoms of some of those things that are just imagined. So moving forward from that, it is important that we ensure that the appointment of subsequent INEC chairmen are not just by a presidential nomination and a National Assembly confirmation. Okay. It should be a participatory process where Nigerians will have the opportunity of saying, no, you can't appoint such a person because these and these and these and these are the antecedents, okay. These are the connection of the so-called appointees with either the ruling party or some other people. And that you saw happening when the other lady was about to be made the acting chair and the rest of that. But that was not born out of the general interest of entrenching a popular process of appointing the INEC chairman, but just a political party that just felt this will not favor us. And that is not, like I said, it must be a process of where people will either apply, nominations will be called for, or more than one person will be nominated, and the special body will have to screen such chairman, and based on what will be the contribution from the public. At that point, that person would see that he is not either beholden to the National Assembly or even to the president, but to the Nigerian people. And the oath of office and oath of allegiance will be to the Nigerian Constitution and to the Nigerian people. And that is number one. Number two, there's still so much money in INEC, and the account of INEC is not subjected to effective scrutiny. So it's very easy for INEC to print, because we have 80-something million voters. It costs a lot of money because INEC, registered voters, INEC will print 80 million ballot papers.
At least 80 million.
So that is telling you that Nigeria would be investing such an amount of money, but we can do without such a huge unnecessary wastage. And it is already public knowledge that some of the richest public servants are actually also in INEC, more than you would possibly have in NNPC or even DPR or NLNG. And this also for me is a crucial area that we need to investigate and ensure that we put INEC on its toes, that it can be transparent and accountable in some of the activities of the agency. The other thing is that INEC is failing in that major crucial responsibility of monitoring political financing. And I can see, kudos to the AAC presidential candidate who came up with a report of his finances, and that is what is expected of all the political parties. So it is not just about filing those reports, it's also about INEC interrogating those reports to ensure that vote trading, vote buying, sponsoring of unnecessary advert, either positive or even negative ones, are completely, if not removed from the electoral process, is reduced to the barest minimum, because somebody is going to check how much was spent for the election and where you also got those money, because it's not just about the spending, it's also to know where your sponsors coming from. So are we having terrorist sponsoring candidates here? Are we having international saboteurs sponsoring candidates to actually also undermine the growth of the country? So these are very crucial issues that the INEC is not taking.
Thank you, sir. Chief Adedimiji, you were part of the process. You were on the field all through the election. What were the things you noticed while monitoring, while working as an agent? What are the things you saw? What are the cases of rigging that you witnessed in this process?
Just like every other person I've said, I think firstly, Nigerians has greatly lose interest in the whole process, directly from the government, because one, towards the election period, there's a lot of insecurity in the country. I think that, to an extent, greatly affects the turnout of the people too, because that security of life and property is not viable anywhere during that period. A lot of things are happening, and people felt, what is the assurance of my safety going out on this election day to vote? Especially when the security who are all out there are not well equipped. Police were the polling booth without even betting, not to talk of gun. So how will they protect life and property if there is violence? So that, to an extent, bring that apathy during that period. Then the ruling party is not too sincere during that period. They were talking about vote buying. There should be vote buying, but they started the whole thing. It was 3-4 months to election. We started hearing trader money, farmer money, this money, and all kind of things. And as they were talking of trader money, they were asking for people's VIN number, and then that makes the whole thing look somehow. I think from that point, most of the opposition starts getting weakened. Though they should have looked for another alternative of punching that trend then. But opposition started withdrawing into their shell, and then where they don't, they wasted money on unnecessary things, because what the opposition did then, if we watch this 2019 election, during the campaigning process, they didn't spend much or they didn't do much on campaigning. They were preparing for their rigging strategies towards the election, the ruling party, towards election. So on election, between the last 3 days to election, there are a lot of free flow of money from the government in power, while the opposition are frustrated somehow. So
on the election day, what was the...
Then on the election day, you see, elections, though sometimes are difficult to rig when the turnout was low. But then even when the turnout is low, the party that has the upper hand, they has every opportunity to manipulate the election where the opportunity comes up. Yes. So with that, if there is rigging anywhere, yes, that is possible, because whoever has money at hand most time has the vote. Because on that day, the youths that are supposed to have make the change were not there. Most of them were on the street playing ball, and then those that were hoodwinks to come and vote, money has to exchange hand before they come off. And there is this the saying, he who paid the piper dictates the tune. Yes, so that is what really happened. And on the part of observers, yes, like my brother rightly said, the initial postponement of that election really affected what it should have been. Like in Kosofe area from which we came, the presence of observers, especially international observers, were not felt. During that presidential election, we didn't see any international observers until I think Sunday's night at the Coalition Center. It was then we have the Commonwealth observers.
Do you think that had an effect on the coalition, on the process of collating the results, without the lack of presence of observers? Did they have any impact at that level?
And at the Coalition Center, they are losing too much. They are losing too much. But there might have been a lot of things while on the field.
Okay.
You know, the presence of observer here and there will have checkmate a lot of things which might have went on then. But when the whole thing is just a free day, the local observers in most cases
compromised.
Compromised.
Yeah.